So basically, I'm going to talk about the phone that I wanted to have, not the flat screen with the LED screen that has connected lights to pinpoints that share pinpoints that share pinpoints that share pinpoints. Not the LED lights that have the code, which is just basically light points and then it scans an image and has different images, then shares the light. If that's the basic version of a cell phone, if it upgrades, and it's fine. But the pinpoints that share the light, which share the light, which share the light, and it sends boot back images, big time images because it's encoded switches that encoded switches, which is good, blah 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 blah. Then it has charge, which is charge with charge. How it charges with energy, not consciousness, but energy is whatever energy is the energy that is calculated that voltage. So now the other thing that I was talking about was also talking about my normal day, and I was talking about my thing because I was complaining about other things, and I was complaining about this, and I was complaining about that, and I was complaining about this, and I was complaining about that. So I was complaining about my old family, and I was complaining about that, and I was complaining about this. Now, what I'm complaining about is basically a thing with I was studying, which was this, which was that. Basically, you can move in with your thoughts, which is your mind, which you can move in with your thoughts, which was your mind, which is your thoughts. So basically, you can move in with your thoughts. Basically, you think with your thoughts, and you can think. So you can imagine, which is people, things can't imagine to think. So, which is why something else, because people, they like to talk, because they talk, and they talk. So while they visualize this thing moving, they said it's a delayed reaction, which is interesting, but we're going to talk about that later. Which is interesting because I had a normal talk, which was filled with normal, but not normal because it's fun. So that's why they like reading books, but it will not help folks because they'll realize it and then they'll think it's some sort of thing, and then they'll have like basically, yeah. Then that's why basically people have to watch what they watch, which is good. So it's all. So what is it? It's mm, um. Anyways, so basically, uh, um, um, which basically, we have to talk what is normally what we talk about, which is what we talk about, which is we talk about, which is we talk about. So I'm going to talk about what I normally talk about because I'm just talking about what I normally talk about. If I'm neutral, I'm not neutral. It's fine because I seem neutral. But if it's not neutral, then it's neutral. Then it's interesting what it is because people I think it's what it is, what it is, what it is. Now, back to what I was saying. Um, okay. So basically, the phone that I used to have was basically a technology phone that was literally this, with the encoded thing that you can charge it with literal consciousness. And what the coded in consciousness was that as they said, it had a camera which was different, and then it had other things that was different. It had a normal camera which is different from it, which I really wanted to see, which I have seen mushrooms before, and they just do normal things, which is okay. But it does keep your temperature warm for a little bit with warm water, and when you boil it with warm water, which is good to know. And they said for a little bit, and it lasts longer because the time limit of those times that you've added on, it adds more to it, which is good to know. Um, Interesting to know. Anyways, so the phone was that basically it's thoughts, and then I'm not gonna say the describing, but thoughts are the basis of consciousness. Then it goes psychic, blah, clissa, dog, regular physical things. And basically that's about it. It can get spread to regular people by just spreading it to other people and things. You can move. They said first. It said you can move with your conscious and subconscious, which is basically things that you can do automatically, unautomatically, and the subconscious is the world around you. Consciousness is basically what you're aware of, which is interesting. So what people see, which is interesting. So the thing is that true? Is that not true? It's interesting. Now, how we talk about awareness, it's probably, we'll go there. This basically, then it goes sacred geometry, which is the flower of life, the tree of life, the fruit of life, then back to the tree of life. I mean, the flower of life. And it has to do with sacred geometry, which is sacred, which is basically that everything is divine and has a pattern, which they don't talk about, but they say everything has a divine and pattern, which is divine because everything is correlated to cause and effect. But we will talk about that later. Then basically after this, we go and talk about. They said some people do think this is from the future. From people that think this is. I'm okay with that. I'm going to say okay with that. But I don't know if that's true because it's too difficult to say where I'm at this point because I've been doing I don't knows, but it's fine. So basically, so they said so basically Basically, then it goes on to say low frequency, high frequency. So basically, there's a low frequency and high frequency, which the idea is that basically we don't know about things like other places, like different directions from different dimensions. So, like a piano has different notes, we don't know about that yet. Instead of literally knowing what someone is actually have thoughts in their minds or what is thinking, that is different than what we have actually gone far. But we have been able to hear different notes and play with the different notes, which have been the closest thing that people have gotten so far. But the thing is that reading actual someone's mind is something that probably won't exist if you hear this, but it's totally good because then basically you'll be neutral and then you'll read a book. But if you don't read a book, then you'll basically be somewhere that I am uncertain about, which is okay with me, but it's fine because it exists and you know me. How you feel about me when you see me is something that is interesting. So, it's like people have feel emotions. Is it negative or positive? It's an emotion. That's all I'm saying. They said that's the pressing part. Okay. Um they said um um so now basically we'll talk about this. So basically like you say you have low frequency and high frequency. They said what happens when you play a video game? That low frequency goes into your mind, which basically you basically told your mind that this is what you can see. Then it's different from the actual ground, so you have a disadvantage on the ground unless that's the real world around you. Then you're doing good with basically your own reality, which is basically matching games, which is matching games with basically the placement of objects, which is good, and also your reality in what's it called? In basically the physical form. So the physical form is good, and that is good for the physical form. And basically, it's not that the internet is connected to the internet. It is that basically the internet is on a place that is basically on a single server, which is totally good, which is great because it will be safe, so it's okay. And if it's on a multiplayer server, that will fuck things up. They said, it's fine if it is because if it doesn't fuck things up, then everything's fine. How they visualize is basically with encoded signals, and that's what we're going to question out later. So it's not perfect, so there's low and high frequencies. They said, so basically, if your body has different energies, how does your body know that it's mentally sane or mentally safe with energies? So basically, you have basically, there's energy work, which is basically just using your body for energy. So basically, you can just say that you're feeling well, but are you actually feeling well? Yes, you're feeling well, but at a certain degree. So like, let's say this is your neutral. They said, am I supposed to say that? This is your neutral state, and then there's curves. So this is your awkward state. Awkward state. So when you go too much like this, then you're awkward. But if basically you can adjust the settings with basically doing it like this, and so basically, what if you just keep saying you're doing this? Yes, every point in your body has an energy point that you can go like this or this. Is it your head? No. That's why we're discussing. Is it something else? We're going to talk about that later. They said, so it's like this or like this or like this. We're just going to talk about that later. They said, they said, are they going to attack me when they see me? I don't even know. They said, ooh, I'm going to go there, someplace that is interesting. They said, oh no. They said, anyways, it's all good. I exist somewhere safe. They said, okay, so it's not connected, it's connected to the TV, which is just the TV that is just recording, so which is good. And now, basically, after that, it goes, after that it goes, what's it called, after it goes, I can't remember it. It goes the masculine and feminine. So there's the masculine and feminine. So basically, there's logical and feminine. So there's the more flexible ones, and then the more logical ones. So basically, when you're more flexible, you're more there's flexible and logical. So basically, a human is more flexible. A logical person is more logical. But basically, it's the idea that basically everything has a pattern and it keeps going forward. So basically, it goes forward and it's logical, but then it's feminine, so it goes feminine. But they work together when they're perfectly matched. So people have said that basically they said I have learned this somewhere, but basically right-minded that means you're more masculine, and they said the question is, so the question is that basically you're more flexible or more logical. They said if you're flexible and logical, that is good for your mind, but is that good for energy points? That is something depending. They said depending on the person, which is okay. So if you're more logical, then you're logical. If you're more flexible, then you're more flexible. Working together it means that you're basically going with the flow. Now, if you're not going with the flow, then basically you're more of basically not logical, not flowing, but you're more of basically logical, which is going with the flow, or either flow going with the flow. I mean, the flexible going with the flexible, or or just the logic. I mean, just wait, what's it called? Just the they said something flexible, flexible, flexible. They said flexible and then logical. So that means you're balanced between the flexible and logical. Now, if you're not going to that, then you're not going to that. It's basically that you're going flexible, then you're going back to where you're going, which isn't flexible. It's more of a what's it called? Um, um, it's more of a way to like, it's like it goes on and on and on, and then basically it's a way to copy and autosave, which is interesting. I don't know why I said autosave, but it's like it goes forward and then it goes back. So basically, that's how you remember. How I personally remember is something different, which is going fine. Now, um, hmm, uh, now after that, it talks about 1 through 8. So basically, it's talking about my photo traffic. So basically, that time goes forward. It goes 1 through 8. They said why 1 through 8 is because that when it goes. They said now for them it's 8. Now is it 7 or 8? So basically, it goes 1 through 8. So basically, first it goes 1 through 8. So basically, the inline between that means that it's a notes, and the fractions of the notes is what it makes. So basically, the day goes, and then a note happens in the middle, which then basically you have time to basically play a music note which exists, which I struggled with so fucking much, which was fucking mind blowing. Um, they said, they said, and basically what you have with that is basically how it sounds. They said, what does that mean? Basically, it means 1 through 8. It means you can either go through the 1 or through the eighth one. So you can either go 1 or 8 to 1. So basically, you can either go 1 to 8 or 8 to 1. So 1 to 8 means basically you can go to 1 to 8 or 8 to 1. And it starts over again. And what you make there goes on. But does it go on more? They said. So basically, it goes 1 to 8. And then the rest goes on to different things that are 1 to 8. So it goes the same thing, but it's the 1 through 8 of the 1 through 8. But it's more of that, but it's interesting. Now, after that, it goes to, I can't even remember. So, they said, after that, it goes to, they said, after that, it goes to, what does it go to? They said, after that, what happens what happens after that? Basically, it goes, basically it goes the movie about energy, which is basically that energy is basically what the fuck. Energy is basically the energy you have, and the energy you can use it with is energy you can use. So basically, the energy is used. So if you could literally see someone's energy, you can do what you want with it. So basically, they said if you can literally use someone's energy, you can do what you want with it to help them in different ways. So basically, that is the energy around them, which is the energy that people see of other people, which is weird to know about. But it's that basically could it be their virtual body or their light body? It is their energy body, which is interesting, because that's good to know. Because people aren't that far. So if I had that phone, that would be pretty interesting. And then after that, so you might, they said, if I have that, what? They said, if I still have that phone, it would have been cool, but it's fine. Anyways, they said, no, go to my actual research. The other books, they said, anyways, those are just, they said, whatever. They said, I had that for years, just many years. Now the other thing I don't know about the other stuff is that, but I don't even know. It's fine. They said it's just which is annoying them, but it's fine. It's the one time. They said after that it goes. What happened? There's one I'm missing. It's oh, basically it goes the different notes between them is basically the astral world. I don't know if it's at the right one, but the astral world is basically anything in the astral world you can do in the real world. So basically, the astral world is anything in the real world you can do in the real world, and that's possible. The notes you play with them are not dark notes. I mean, they could be dark notes or light notes. They said what it talks about is that your body leaves your body, and basically, not that it's a white note or a black note. It's that basically there's a way that you can literally leave your body and go to out of body experience and go out of your body. But that is different from basically doing a thought. They said, so an out of body experience is different because only a few people have heard of it. So out of body experiences is basically when you're out of your body, but you have seen your body. So it's not that basically people have thought, is this a different timeline? People have thought, is this me in my body or am I out of my body? They said basically it's you out of your body. They said what happens when someone goes inside your body? Only someone can go inside your body because it is the light of your body. So the light of your body is what the light of someone sees in your body. Your physical body is on the physical ground, which we'll talk about that later. Which is why you should take care of your mind and also your health. Because they said neural pathways literally go, they said, we're going to talk about that later. Neural pathways literally go by choice makings. And basically it's called muscle memory. Your brain has muscle memory too, and your brain has neural pathways too. After that, there's also so there's decision making, then there's basically memory, and then basically they said right mind from subject mind is not true in the case of your mind, but it is true for your pineal gland. But is there two different types of different pineal glands? Rarely. And those people, I have no idea what the fuck they are. They said, no, I fucking love you, and I know you're great, but it's just, no. They said, you're good. They said, you good. You good, you're awesome, because you were perfect, and I was fucking depressed, because I was fucking depressed, and I was like, damn it. They said, what do you mean? They said, I had a chance, and I was like, I should do this. And then some normal girl came up, and she was like, yo, wanna sit on the bus? And I was like, what? And then I took the bus, and then I was like, oh, right. They said another time when I was taking the bus. And then where did I take the bus to? I decided not to get on the bus, which was fucking interesting, because it was literally literally in my neighborhood. And I was like, fuck, what should I do? And that's why that little car thing literally happens all the time, because the car happened, and I'm doing normal, but it was fucking upsetting. And I was like, oh, stay positive, my friends. They said, man, I wonder if he did. They said he would have been weird to her. They said, The other guy would have been cool. Does he exist? I don't even fucking want to know if that's depressing existence, but I don't even want to go there. They said that has happened, and it has happened that feels like it's more than you know, and I don't even know. They said it's fine, it's fine. Back to what I was saying. Um, um, so basically, there's the memory, which is basically memory. Um, which why have I gotten off topic? So you got out of body experience. You can go anywhere in your body, but the thing is that it's they said there's things like you can connect your body to your mind, you can connect your body to your physical body, or you can connect your body with your light, which is interesting because you're saying objects as memories, so this is you and this is your identity, which is good to know. Um, they said you can also stay in your body and recharge your energy, which is interesting. Those things are left out. Now the thing with different pineal glands, um, basically, basically, some moron just said one is survival, one is sexual, or something. It said one is survival, one is one is. Wait, what the fuck did they say? They said who the fuck would say something like that? They said, uh, they said, they said those were the two basic things I've heard, but those were two basic things. They said, have they died from a panic attack? After that moron said that, they said they probably have. They said, how do they balance them out? They said, oh, that would suck. Who said that? Dude, I was just sitting here. I was just sitting here too. They said, who was saying that? They said, fuck. They said, man, dude, you could have said something better. They said, man, I don't even know. They said, if you didn't screw it up, would you be? It's alright, it's alright. Alright. Uh, they said, They said, basically afterwards, they said, basically they said, can people know things after? They said it's going to be depressing because I'll know something and I'll know something, but it's something that is something. So they have said, can people know something without other people knowing? So basically they have done tests where basically they have broadcast. They said basically they did a test, and then they broadcast it to the internet, and then the new people saw more than the old people. So basically they learned, but it was recent. So more people knew something after they broadcast it, and that basically they found it out more. So basically more people found it than less people, which is more interesting to know about. So it's basically that when more people know it, more people are likely to know it. But how many times did they experiment? They did it like 4 times. So the first time it was good, the second time it was good, the third time it was 50-50. The fourth time it was good again. So that was about it. They said that was about it. Then after the fifth time, they said, I don't know what happened. Um, mm, they said so basically the persons they picked depended on what happened, so we're just gonna leave it there. And if it happened the first time, then none of them know what happens. They said. Anyways, they said now people who have spotted the difference on the first time, they basically quit the experiment and basically went onto something different, which was, um, anyways, they said, anyways, anyways, it was interesting. Um, yeah. Back to what I was saying. After astral projection, it goes to the Sumerian epic. So the Sumerian epic was a history story of basically of people in classrooms. So basically, the history story was basically people in the classroom and people in the classroom. So it was the history of everyone in the classroom that existed. So the history of the classroom was basically the history of. They said it was not the history. It was the history of basically these people that existed that were awesome to the people who were pretty good to people's reality. So it was good people that existed in their reality. And basically what it talked about was it talking about normal people that existed and they did their normal thing and they did their normal thing, which was good and stuff, and that was good and that was good and that was good and that was good and that was good. So basically they did their normal thing, they did normal things. So basically they talked about arguments they had, fights they had, and then basically different things, like there were many of them and they had so many of them, they talked about that. Then basically they had an argument, then some lady left, and then one person existed, and then basically they lived, and then they basically got rid of the guy. So then that guy left, and then basically they had many people to rule over, and then yeah, the question is what was the fight was. Basically these two people were obvious, and you could tell what it was if it was their light body, but you couldn't tell if it was their words, which was interesting. And then basically after that, they talked about how the earth was made and the world was made and how the earth was made. So they talked about how the world was made, and after the world was made, they talked about the earth was made, and they talked about how the world was made, and they talked about how the world was made, and they talked about how the world was made, and the world was made. They said, "Damn, you're successful somehow." And then they talked about how the world was made. They said, "See, I told you it was fine somehow." They said, and then they talked about how the world was made, from literally two different worlds crashed and they became one because somehow they turned into a world after somehow, which wasn't destruction. It was that basically more came and they collided and started pickling up, and then what? Then basically what? Then basically they started turning. That sounds like a weak planet. It was pretty weak, but then afterwards it basically turned into an island, which was interesting. How was it so weak but turned into islands? Basically, they're all just okay, sure, whatever. They said they're like little toys. They said yeah. And then after that, it goes back to what it normally is, which is which is basically they said basically which is basically what was I gonna say? Basically after that it was going to be um, um, after that it was cause and effect. So it basically no, it was sacred geometry again because it's saying everything the earth has a pattern and the pattern to it is the pattern that has a pattern that has a pattern. So basically, how do you know something has a pattern is basically that basically everything you know has a pattern. So what if it doesn't have a pattern? It's basically that your mind can understand the pattern, and it's called art form. That's why we already been over the masculine and feminine because it's flexible or not flexible, which was good. And then basically it has a pattern that has a pattern that has a pattern. They said how does it work together is that it works together into your reality and basically what you understand of the external and internal world. So there's an internal and external world. So different from the internal and external are basically ones that work together, that works well. If you died, yeah, they said, if you died, yeah, they said, I would probably just ignore you and, they said, anyways, they said, they said, did you get run over a bus? They said, they said, anyways, they said, he thinks he's better than me. They said, anyways, they said, um, they said he probably would be better than me if he got rid of that monster. They said, yeah, I agree. They said, you would probably be doing better than me if you got rid of a monster like that. Did he do it? They said, huh, he's unlucky. They said, I can't believe I asked that question. He asked a dumb question. They said, did he do it? They said, probably not. They said, but he does win a lifestyle of nice living. They said, man, well, good luck being Asian or something. They said, do I just have that? No, I literally do my research, and this is my real world. They said, now, if you're questioning what happens in my life, it basically means I've lived a long time and lived a long time, which is interesting. Back to what I was saying. After it goes to everything as a pattern, it goes to cause and effect. So basically, it goes cause and effect, cause and effect. Then it goes basically my turn. So my turn is basically that basically you can basically tune what dimension you're in. Basically, you have basically there's as above, as below. If you're doing difficult, they said there's basically when your mind and emotions mix together, they work well. They said it does not have to do with frequency because frequency is different. When you talk, that is expression. They said, which is interesting. So talking is talking, which is basically saying normal words. When you get two different sound waves together, they work together. They said that is okay. Now, how do people understand them is basically what they understand them normally. Now, where the words come from is, they said a baby can obviously learn how to talk, but where they come from is basically from the mind. So basically, what you teach them is what you teach them. They said basically it's what they teach them is what they teach them. So basically, when you put a baby in a room, they could obviously learn what people already say because people say what they say normally, which is what people say normally, which is okay. So what people say normally, what people say normally is what it's going to pick up afterwards, which is good. And then afterwards, it's going to start doing the normal thing, like walking, talking, blah, blah. But how old is the baby is probably like 3 or 2, and then 1 is just looking for survival, which is good. So 1 is just looking for like basically just things that needs to be doing because it's scared, and then afterwards, after when it's scared, it's going to look for things it's doing. Then it's going to basically start talking, and then basically it's going to like then well basically after it gets taken care of, then basically it knows it can be safe. If it wasn't safe, then basically they will be too scared to learn. So if they're too scared, they would be too scared to learn, and when they're too scared to learn, they basically won't get where they need to get. So basically, after they won't get what they need to get, they'll be too scared to learn. And then after they're too scared to learn, they'll basically be stuck not being too scared to learn, but basically learn what they have learned from what they were scared of, which is okay. And then afterwards, they go to either quietness or or they said it could be puberty or quietness. So it means that they're quiet and they want to be doing something else because they have curiosity and they want to find something else better to do and thinks what they think of their reality, or they have they said they want to basically question reality on the basis of like what is it called? Emotions and also we'll go with emotions for now. So they want to question themselves on emotions. So they question themselves on emotions. And basically they question themselves on emotions or their reality. But they would never question themselves on emotions, they question them on their reality. But if they question themselves on their emotions, then basically that's a balance between mind and heart, which is basically something that is completely different. Which is basically they have a mental mind with an emotional mind, which is a mental emotional mind, which is basically mental emotional mind, which is they said they're screwed after this. A mental emotional mind, which is a harmony between mind and heart. If it's not a harmony between mind and heart, then basically they have trauma, which is different than what we're going to go to. But if they have trauma, then basically they are emotionally and mentally different from what they are supposed to be doing, which is totally okay with me. Anyways, so trauma is that basically they are living in a reality that's not the same as what it should be, and they're having difficult living their lives, which is okay with me. Um, and then basically they said basically so we said cause and effect, emotional mind. They said so that's basically how people grow up, and then basically they talk and they say what they need to say, and then they have what they think is basically normally their mind, and then basically they talking and their mind, which is good. So you might be questioning why this is important. So it's questioning is basically the power of mind is that basically you assume things. So basically you assume something that is. So everyone knows how to talk English, and you know everyone talks English. And true, everyone talks English, and everyone talks English. But how do people know what people talk? It's basically the sound wave thing. It's basically when you have a balance between mind and emotion, and with mind and emotion, and with things, it can basically get you where you need to go. Which why you should stay good and stay positive. if basically you have a life where you live and then basically learn basically something that is different, it's fine. Babies have been able to go to where they needed to go, what they needed to trust. The question is how true is something is? Basically, how true something is basically how much it's. They said for us, it could be how much light it has. For others, it could be how much it affected the body and mind. So how much it affected the body and mind is basically something that is basically due to the biological ones. And we haven't talked about biological ones because biological ones are different because we haven't talked about biological because biological is physical. But if we were going to talk about biological, um, basically, can your body encode physical bodies in your physical body? They said your body can encode physical things in your light body, which is good, which is interesting. They said, can it encode your physical body? They said basically it means that it can basically it's connected to your spine. So it's interesting that basically your spine. They said a spine. Thank you, spine girl. They said basically your spine is connected to your chakras. They said why? Because your spine is connected to. They said that's not true. That's not true. They said your spine is connected to your light. They said no, that's not true. They said hold on. They said okay. What am I trying to say? So basically, it goes through your mind, and then it goes to your lower bodies. So, or it could go up and goes over that. So basically, it goes mind and body. So it goes at the same time. It could have been different, but basically, we all thought muscle, right? We all thought muscle. So we all thought muscle. So we all thought that there was a tool for muscle, which is basically flex, which is cock flex. Anyways, we're gonna talk about that. That would be depressing if it was some like weird thing. They said, what about the other one? They said, they said, they said, oof, they said, it's fine. They said, which is good to know, which was good to know at that time of existence. Anyways, yeah, they said, they said, anyways, they said, man, do you know, they said, what? They said, said, have you ever thought someone was gonna fake moan? They said, I don't even want to answer that question, and I'm gross. They said, I don't know. They said, have you ever thought it? They said, man, the weird thing is, they said, if they met a black person, they would. But if they met another person, they would just be like, let's play Smash. And I'm like, what do you mean let's play Smash? Basically gonna play games with it and then do your normal thing like you usually do. They said, I'm depressed. They said, um, um, they said, okay, now has someone ever just like, they said, uh, um, so basically, you can make sounds and go where they need to go. They said, why wouldn't someone understand what someone's saying? Basically, it's that basically they don't understand the pattern, which you can easily ask because it would be something of a new word. Now, a different sound and a different sound makes new words. They said, how can you pick out new words that are different words? They said, okay, you're here. Basically, your mind can basically hear the word, which is basically a sound of the word, and then the sound of the word. So the sound of the word is a sound. So the sound of the word is a sound. Then you hear the sound, and basically you catch. They said you hear the sound, you get the sound. So You get the sound. You know that the sound of everything makes together the sound, and basically the sound is the sound, but it doesn't match the sound that you have heard before, so you just add it in. And basically you add, what does that mean? And then they say definition and they put it in a sentence, which is simple. Um, and it's simple by that. And if they said the sound wave thing is that basically it's basically in the moment. It's basically, they said it's what you said. They said, so what am I saying? The thing is that I'm depressed about. It's that uh, okay. Um After that, there's dream time. So dream time is the idea that you can literally know that there's other places of you. So basically, it's your astral body. So is it your astral body or is it your real body? There's your body that you see out of your body. So it's basically your body out of your body. So basically, is it the astral body? They said basically it's the identity of you in other places that people have seen in their minds. So basically, it's that you literally know that it's you because you know it's you, and then you play as you like a video game because you're controlling the character, which is basically you're choosing a point to exist and then log off, which is interesting. So you choose a point to exist and then log off. And then basically it's connected to you and it's connected to them, which is interesting. And then afterwards, what you can do with that is basically literally pick up objects, pick up other things, or literally do anything you want that you can think you can do, which is good. Um, you can pick up objects, you can think of things, and do normal things. Later, later the concept of basically that objects have money. They said singularity, and singularity, and then afterwards they said choosing what place you get something is interesting. So basically, an object has value. So they basically put value on a $10 wine and a $1 wine. They said one was more ripe and one had more wine to it and it was better tasting, while one had the same taste. Now they tried both of them, and they tried both of them, and they tried the $1 wine and then the $10 wine. People had said the $10 wine was that. Then they said they were the same wine, and people thought it was the same wine. So it was that they said people had thought it was the price of something. It was actually that basically what people had perceived of what it was what they think about what it was, which was interesting. So basically, what they think it was what they actually think it was. But was it actually what they thought it was? That's what they remember of what it was, which is interesting. So what they remember of it is the price of it, which was interesting. Now, did the price change due to the value of the price? They said, hmm, hold up. So did the price change because the value of the price? Or did they change because the value that they said they gave it to? So they said the value that it felt the same, but when they knew it was more expensive, they said it was better. So they said it felt the same, but when they knew it, they said it felt better. So basically, the price of something is making it better. They said, now, why did the value of the price change? Is because because basically they because they basically thought it was because basically they thought it was the same. So they thought it was the same. So did that make it better or did it make it worse? Basically, it made it. Basically, it made it. Is it basically the thought of wine made it? Is it the thought of wine made it? This is wine. This is the thought of wine made it. Um, the thought of wine made it. Basically, what they thought about it was what they thought about it. So they put a price tag on it. So the price tag, it was the price tag that changed the value of something. But was it their thoughts that changed it? No. Their thoughts did not change the price of it. It was the actual price of what something was. But if you have something like the wine and then it ripens, does the price go up? That's what we're going to ask today. So you have a wine and it's regular. Then is it more expensive today? So you have wine and it's ripened. Is it? They said, I'm so sorry. That's literally what I need for most of my objects. So it's the exact same, but it's better. They said, basically, the ripe wine is better only if you put a price tag on it, which is interesting. Which basically the price of what the thing was is what the thing is. Can cheap wine be more expensive? They said, I don't know. Cheap wine, they said, why would cheap wine be more expensive? It's a cheap. Basically, if you buy it more expensive, they said, basically if you buy it more expensive, then the price will be more expensive. So the price of things literally changes things. But if basically you hold it onto something, they said if you hold onto something, the way you use the tools is the tools. So now we're going to go to tools. So now there has been people in ancient Egypt who have been talking about ancient Egypt, which we're going to talk about ancient Egypt, which was something that we're not going to talk about, but ancient Egypt. What tools did they have? Basically, ancient Egypt had many tools. 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 So the ancient Egypt had tools like, we're not going to talk about the weapons. We're going to talk about the weapons later. They had tools like, what did they have? Basically, they would have this tool that basically, when you affected it while wearing it, they said it's an object that they literally kept. It's literally the first concept of a ring and the first concept of a sex ring. So I want to definitely keep it. They said it's not a sex ring. It's basically if you keep an object with you and then have an object with you that represents something while you're doing it, it's not the idea of luck. That means it will literally spike your energy of sound up, which means it's closer to you, which is an ankh, which is so good that I'm so glad you had said. I said I don't even know if it was sex or anything, but it's fine. If a tuning fork existed, I don't care. I still know the concept exists because I have a tuning fork. But I'm gonna go bonk, moron, you fucking dumbass. And then afterwards, said, is it a superstition? They said, I don't know if it's a superstition. They said, is that a superstition? For me, it's probably true. But for other people, basically, if people have different things, like different environments, they have more chances of being more, like, say you brought, like, let's say you brought, I was gonna say gas stove. Is it? Let's say you brought basically a water. They said a water. They said, why the fuck would you think? let's say you bring. They said, I don't know. Let's say let's say you bring a. Let's say what would be helpful? They said. They said I don't know. Let's just say you can bring like a water bottle. They said we're just gonna go with one. Let's say you bring a water bottle or like a line or a tent or something that basically was good for something in the woods. Basically, it helps you out more, which is tough, which is good. but does it literally bring things to you, which is interesting. Basically, does something bring something to you, which is more likely to do you? It helps you with the world around you, which is good. Now, can a literal object do that? Um, Basically, a literal object can do that. With basically, a literal object can basically have something that basically, the literal object basically represents something. So the literal object represents something that is basically something that is connected to you in other places, which basically reminds you of the time. So it reminds you something. So it kind of reminds you of something, which is good to know. So basically, it's good for when you need it. Afterwards, they said, now we're talking about the moon and the magnetic field, and then afterwards, we're going to, afterwards we're going to, afterwards we're going to, then afterwards, so basically then we're talking about the moon and how the orbit changes if you use the moon, they said. So basically we want to know more about luck and basically if you bring something in an environment that is different. So the thing is, you brought different things to a different environment, what would happen? They said there has been really bad cases, which is basically bringing something in a bad place, and then there has been really good places. So first bad place is, they said, this is off book topic. It's basically, they said Australian bunnies to a tropical island. They said the bunnies repopulated. What happened? They repopulated. Did they eat everything? No. They said, fuck, someone framed me. They said, did they eat everything? No, it was the poachers. They said, what the fuck does that mean? They said, basically, they put the bunnies back where it was going to. So, the Australian bunnies, they said, fuck. They said, that would be terrifying and I just don't want to know that it exists and it's fine. So, the Australian bunnies, what did they do? Basically, it was regular land and it was basically that. Basically, they just got and then they lived there. Now, what happened after that? They basically just existed and roamed everywhere. Then, basically, in Australia, they said, they said, um, they said, any good things? Some people, they said, why did you have to think of the worst scenario? Then, basically, the good thing. They said, okay, we're not going to talk about that. Basically, basically when life size is bad. But basically, it goes back when it goes back. They said basically new life. I said I don't know. We're just gonna go with that. They said basically has anything good happened before? They said um basically what happens afterwards is what happens afterwards. So basically what happens is that it goes and sends the thing and blah blah blah. So basically like messages. You got a message and you got info. Does that info help you? Yes. Now what if you bring a tool to something, like a pen or paper? It is how you use the tool, not how it is. So we're gonna talk about it later. So basically I have to know someone I gave a tool to, which was upsetting, which is annoying. They said, so basically, someone has used a tool, and they have used it. So what do you think happens? Do they feel happy? Do they feel sad? Do they feel depressed? Or do they feel good? Or do they feel sad? Or do they feel depressed or sad? Or do they feel depressed or sad because the Australian bunnies are existing and now they're gonna be... Anyways, depressed or sad or depressed or happy or depressed or happy or depressed or sad or depressed or happy. They said depressed or happy or depressed or happy or depressed or happy or depressed or happy. They said, basically, it means that the objects you give someone is basically what they get of what they needed, which helps them out in the environment. So it encodes signals to them for the environment, and what they encode with the signals is what happens to them. So what happens when they get encoded signals that send signals to the other one? So what happens to the encoded signals that happen to the other one is that the encoded signals goes and basically goes and encodes signals in them. They said, and basically the encoded signals go around. Basically, it has to do with their environment. So basically, what's around them is basically depending on them, and what's not around them is depending on them. So you have your environment and what you gave them. So what they gave them is what they're going to do with them, and what you give them is what you do with them, and what they gave you is what they do with them. So how useful it is dependent. How not useful it is dependent too. Make sense? Good. They said, damn it. So, so afterwards, the moon magnetic field. Basically, can objects move, then pole shift? So basically, we all know that we have a magnetic field. They said everyone has a magnetic field. What is the magnetic field? Magnetic field is the field, which is basically not your DNA. Basically, it's your light body, which is working perfectly. Then it is, if your light body, which works perfectly, then it is basically your your crystal body, and then basically it's you looping back. They said, are you talking about the hollow earth theory? They said, I've never heard of the hollow earth theory, but now that I have, I don't even know what the fuck that means. They said, hollow earth theory? They said, hollow earth theory? Holy fuck, what the fuck does that mean? Oh, they said, anyways. You dumbass. They said, they said, they said, they said, then what's under? They said, fuck it, a cave. They said, man, if a cave exists, I am kind of interested. If there was a dungeon, I would have been kind of scared too. They said, if it was a pit, I don't know, would it lead somewhere? They said, man, I'm fucking annoyed. Anyways, they said, anyways, they said, afterwards, after that, basically, after what we get is afterwards, we get the hollow earth theory. So, no, we were talking about the moon. So, the moon, how does it move? Basically, it moves by orbiting the thing. So basically, it's gonna be said. So the magnetic field of a person. Are we going to talk about a magnetic field of a person? I said, do you really want me to talk about a magnetic field of a person? Basically, what you do to someone else is what happens to them. What you other persons do to them is what happens to yourself. So basically, what you do to yourself happens to yourself. What you do to others happens to others, which is good to know. So what happens to yourself happens to yourself. What you do to others is what happens to others. So what happens to others is what happens. What you do to yourself is what you do to yourself. So what you do to yourself is what you do to yourself. What you do to others is what you do to others. Anyways, so what you do to others is what you do to others. So the thing is, what you do to others is basically it's What? The sound of light that's around you? The sound of light that's around you? They said, the sound of your body that's around you. And how does it go out everywhere? They said, is it like a force field? No, basically, does it go around you? No, it's like the sound. They said, no, that's not right. It's the sound and what you have done to others and yourself, which is interesting to know. And what you do to others is what you do to yourself. They said, so basically, it's the world around you, and which is interesting. Now, if all the things is working perfectly fine, we can probably understand. If the crystal thing's working perfectly fine, we'll probably find about the Hollow Earth, and if it doesn't look about the Hollow Earth, then the Hollow Earth will probably be something that they're terrified of. And then afterwards, we're going to talk about consciousness grid, which is consciousness of a grid of the world. And then we're going to talk about pyramid power, which was ancient Egypt. And then we're going to talk about indigo children, and then we're going to talk about ancient Egypt, and then history, and then basically things. But did we learn technology? They said then it basically went to the parables, which is parables of normal things, of writing parables. So just stories, and then it talked about technology, and that was all about what I've studied, and that was my cell phone. Which you might be asking, how the fuck that was my cell phone? And I just wanted to take pictures with it. Now, I know how a cell phone works. It's just an LED screen, and then basically it has light on it, and then basically it can scan photos of the light, and then it has a memory of the photo for the memories. Then basically it has a sound wave detector, and then blah blah blah, and blah blah blah. So how does that work with technology? It has to work with technology. Is that basically how you work together? Is that the technology? Is that basically, how do I say it? Does it? They said basically, it goes with basically, it has basically how does it do that? They said basically first you get the object, then basically you connect it to a Bluetooth, then basically you make it into what it is. So you make it what you need to. If you don't have a Bluetooth, then it's different. But you get a Bluetooth, then basically you make it what it is. So the problem is, how did you make it to that? Basically, you have this stuff, and then it's storage, and then it's stuff. That's it. Fuck it. Anyways, I'm going to bed. Thank you.